welcome back to my second video on the YouTube channel. I did realize last week that I forgot to mention my name, so maybe that would probably be a good place to start today. My name is Shalika Marker, and I think it's probably quite fitting that I told you my name today because I'm going to talk a little bit about my background. My childhood, I grew up in a country called Sri Lanka. I'm sure a number of you know where that is, but for those who don't, it is a little island, small island, just at the tip of India. We are known as the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, and I grew up there. I have a very mixed background. The majority of people in Sri Lanka are Sinhalese and Tamil, and we have also different minorities that live there, and I was one of them because my grandfather on my mom's side, he came to Sri Lanka from China, and my grandmother's family is a mix of Dutch and German, which we call burgers in Sri Lanka, and that's my mom's side. And then my dad is Persian, so his parents originally came from India, and they are Persian. So I am a bit of a mix. And but I did grow up in Sri Lanka for the most part of my life, till I was, 21, 22. Yes, my childhood was amazing. I'm an only child. I had a mom and a dad, and my mom was very strict and very capable woman, and is still a very capable woman, and demands that excellence from everything that she does and everything that I do. I'm not sure I always meet her expectations, but I try. And my dad, well, he was a very kind man, I would say. I knew him well for the most part of my life, but he did struggle with alcoholism, so it was difficult. And he worked on a ship, so he was away for long periods of time, sometimes more than 6 months, and then we would come home. He would be drinking a lot in the night, so we wouldn't see him so much, because then during the day he's obviously sleeping, and then we were at school, and my mom was a very hands-on mom who always dropped me at school and picked me up. And in Sri Lanka, it's very can be very demanding on children and on parents. So we had that life for about 14 years, and then when I was 14, my mom and dad decided to separate and get a divorce. My mom was it was too much for her, and I totally understand that living with an alcoholic is no picnic. It's hard work, and those of us who have not done it cannot even begin to imagine how difficult it is. And although he was my father and I did live there, I was not married to him, and so I wholeheartedly agree with her decision, even though my father was a very kind man in other aspects, but unfortunately not as strong, and didn't have as much willpower, I suppose, as most people. And he unfortunately really drank too much, but that we could get into that in another video if somebody else really wants me to go into it. So I was an only child, so I played a lot by myself, and I was very happy by myself to play, and enjoyed the company of friends. My mom had a lot of friends, a large circle of friends, and they all had children, and my mom had like big parties, and we would go away together. So I was never really alone. I never felt alone. I've always been very comfortable by myself, in my own skin, and in my own ability to entertain myself and to be alone, which I think has helped me a lot throughout my life. And so my childhood particularly was a very happy one. My grandparents, my mom's side and my dad's side, both lived there. We didn't see his parents as often, but my grandmother's house, I would be in and out of that house all the time. My grandfather on my mom's side, it was a special man, a very Chinese, very straight-laced, very routine type of person. He was loving, but not overly talkative and overly emotion showing overly eager to show his emotions. He was a very guarded man. And then after that, I grew up, and then when I was 18, my grandparents passed away, and I lived there for a few months looking after my grandmother who died of cancer. And then a few months later, my grandfather died, typically of a broken heart, or usually you hear these stories, older men passing away, older women passing away after the love of their life or partner they've been together with a long time, maybe not the love of their life, passes away. It happens. So that's how it ended for them. And at that time, I was doing my Montessori course. I am by profession a Montessori teacher. So I had just about finished that course, and I was starting to work in Sri Lanka. And my goal there from that point was to move to the States. And obviously, in Sri Lanka, all the movies we got and all the TV series we got and shows, everything revolved around States and America. So that's where I thought I wanted to be. And a lot of Sri Lankan Montessori teachers had gone there. So there I embarked on my journey to find a job there, continuing to work in Sri Lanka for two lovely ladies who taught me a tremendous amount about teaching children. And I decided to move to the States. And obviously I got a job there, Sri Lankan lady, and all that paperwork and everything took place. And then, of course, 9/11 happened. It was around that time. And then visas and work permits to the States all came to a stop. So I was very, very low at that point in my life. I really wanted to go. I was down and I was so sad, and I was really, really depressed. And my angel of a mother, she said to me, "Why don't you go to England? You have a friend who's getting married, and go for her wedding and go stay there for 6 months. And then come back, and then we will revisit your plans." And little did she know, and she may not have suggested it if she did, that I would go to England and be there for 10 years, which is what I did. I moved there. I had some friends from Sri Lanka there, girls who were studying, and I had a very good friend of mine who had met. We became very good friends quite quickly. He was into music and plays guitar and did, open mic nights around London. And I am a singer as well. I sang in a choir for many years in Sri Lanka. So I moved there, and then we were going to make it big, of course. But in the meantime, I found myself a job, actually. It was not so difficult. I moved there in September, and I got my job in December. I got the bug of being on my own. I felt very open and very free, because in Sri Lanka everyone was up in your business all the time, and everybody knew who you were because we were from a very small town. In Colombo, everybody knows who you are, and I really enjoyed the feeling of being by myself. And I did have a network of friends and some aunts and uncles there who could help me out. So it wasn't very difficult, but it did make me be more brave. It made me braver to be able to stay there and to really want something bad enough that I was able to put in the work to find a job. And coming from Sri Lanka, when you've been sheltered and brought up with that kind of close-knit family that always helps you and steers you in every way, it's quite a challenge to actually be there on your own and manage your own money that you never had to do before, and find yourself a job. And so it was a very steep learning curve for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I found a job, and then there came the very difficult tasks of trying to get a work permit and getting all that organized. And luckily for me, my boss at that time was so wonderful, and she worked very hard. She got me my work permit, and another colleague of mine, a friend of mine, who I stay with, And as you can see, I have a little toddler in the house and he wants a sandwich. So I am going to take a break here and I will be back to finish up the rest of the story in a little while. Bye. Hi, I'm back. I did say that was going to be an honest channel. Yes, if you must know, I'm at home today filming because my child is sick. And I will get into the situation, how it works here where I live. So, where were we? Yes, in London. So it was a very honest and very steep learning curve for me to learn about how to live my life and how to manage myself and my finances and find a place to live and all those things. So, but that was a wonderful learning curve for me, and I started working for a wonderful lady, and I worked for her for 7 years as a Montessori teacher with a number of wonderful parents and children and wonderful colleagues. So I lived in England for 10 years, but during that time I did find it very difficult to I had this vision that I was going to be dating different people and meeting people, and I find it very difficult to do that. And a lot of people that I did meet were through friends, and it was very I'm not going to get into all that rubbish, but it was not easy. And then at some point I met a guy, and I fell totally and utterly in love with him. And after about 6 months, I would say 6 months to 8 months, he just suddenly decided it wasn't working, and I was just gutted. I couldn't think, I couldn't eat straight. I was just so overwhelmed with emotion and sadness because I had already had a boyfriend in Sri Lanka that I had broken up with because he just wasn't the person for me. But when I met this guy, I thought, oh gosh, yes, he is the one for me. And I just went all out and straight into it. And then obviously I wasn't the one for him. So that was really hard at that point. And I remember lying on the floor, crying my heart out. I was, 22 years old, maybe 22, 23. Was really one of the first very, very hard breakups. And then you think nothing's going to happen. And for a long time, I never met anybody. And life was great because I just went out with my friends and did my thing. You know, London is London, and it was a wonderful place. And I would recommend anybody who's younger, in their early 20s, if you want to go to a place and really enjoy and learn and you're into experiences and theater and music and art, and it's a fabulous place to be. When you have a child and a family, I'm not so sure because it's quite expensive, but I would definitely recommend it to everybody who wants to go and just live a year, maybe two. Maybe you might end up staying there 10 years like I did. But from London, I now live in Sweden. How did I get here? Well, I went to Sri Lanka, as I did often, to visit my mom, and then while I was there, I met my husband. And au contraire, he is not Swedish. Well, he is half Swedish, and his mom comes also from Sri Lanka. A friend of mine introduced us. It was her cousin, and I met him, and the moment I met him, everything just went really fast. He was very keen and very engaged, and he decided he wanted to date me immediately. And we started dating, and I was in England, he was in Sweden. We shuffled back and forth, and then eventually, once I settled in England with all my visas and passports, and I became a British citizen, then I decided it was time to move to Sweden. And we had already become engaged, so we moved here, and then a year later we were married. So now I am married. I live in Sweden with 2 children, and I have a wonderful job teaching children in a Montessori school here. But it was hard, let me tell you. I am not an academic by any means, and the thought of coming here and learning a new culture and new language and not being, well, not feeling like I was very smart was a huge undertaking for me, which I did because I fell in love. And I have this innate thing to just leap into things without thinking of the consequences. Well, I used to. Now I'm a little bit older and I think things through so much. But I think the reason that it has allowed me to move from Sri Lanka to London and from London to someplace like Sweden and learn the language and just enjoy Sweden. Not everybody who moves here likes it. Most people find it very difficult to settle in, but I find it very easy to settle in and learn and enjoy myself. Of course, it helped that my husband was born and bred here and we had a support system. But I love it here now. I love being in Sweden. It's a wonderful country to me, but lots of people think otherwise. But I really enjoy being here. I have two boys. One is 8 and one is 4, which is at home sick. And the reason I can't stay at home, because Sweden, as I'm not sure if a lot of people know, has a very social system here, and we get paid by the government to stay at home when our kids are sick, which is absolutely amazing. So I thought I'd take this time at home to start a couple of my YouTube channel. So that's my story, and now thinking back about it, I think I was pretty brave at that point. Less brave now, actually, and I'm hoping to change that this year. I have a beautiful home, and I have wonderful children and husband, and we are by no means a perfect family, but we enjoy each other's company, and we enjoy a calm, a peaceful, and a very non-active life, actually. I wish we were more active people, but we are not. We enjoy watching TV and just taking it easy, and it's okay. Sometimes, that's the way the tempo in my house goes. And sometimes I look at people on social media and I wonder, oh gosh, they're doing this with their children and doing that with their children. And oh gosh, we need to do this, and I'm on my husband, and we need to do that. And then sometimes I just think to myself, well, we're not that family. We are our family. We do what's right for our family and what feels best for us. And if it feels best for us to just take it easy all weekend because we've worked hard all week, then that's what we do. And we are lucky enough that our kids do not need to go out to get out a lot of steam and stuff. So that helps. So that's a little bit about myself, a background, and next week we have some maybe more serious topic to discuss, and I will hope to see you on Sunday again, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my story. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.